Hey there, Peter here. This is Amazon Rufus, and today we're digging into how Amazon actually tracks that $10 billion revenue figure they announced for Rufus. Amazon claimed Rufus drove $10 billion in annualized sales during their Q3 earnings call. But here's what most sellers missed. None of that revenue came from immediate purchases. The entire attribution model runs on a 7-day rolling window that tracks what Amazon calls downstream impact. Your product shows up in a Rufus conversation on Monday, the customer buys on Thursday, and Amazon's system connects those dots. Understanding how this attribution actually works changes what you should be measuring in your own catalog. So let's break down what Amazon disclosed in those internal documents that leaked alongside the earnings announcement. The $10 billion figure isn't measuring direct conversions. It's not tracking someone asking Rufus, what's the best running shoe, and immediately clicking buy now on your ASIN. That's the fundamental misunderstanding most sellers have about AI-driven commerce metrics. What Amazon is actually measuring is something they call downstream impact. When a customer interacts with Rufus, asks a question, gets product recommendations, maybe clicks into a few ASINs, Amazon's attribution system starts a 7-day timer. Every purchase that customer makes in the following week gets analyzed for potential connection to that Rufus session. If the product category matches, if the ASIN was mentioned or shown, if the search intent aligns, Amazon's model assigns attribution credit to Rufus. The reason this matters is that most customer shopping journeys don't end in the same session anymore. Someone asks Rufus, what camping gear do I need for a weekend trip in cold weather on Tuesday morning during their commute? Rufus recommends sleeping bags, insulated pads, portable stoves, layering systems. The customer reads through the recommendations, maybe clicks into 3 or 4 products, adds one to their cart. Then they close the app. Thursday night, they're back. They've done more research. They compare a few more options. And Friday, they complete the purchase. Traditional Amazon attribution, the kind that powers your PPC reports, would likely credit that sale to whatever keyword or placement drove the Friday session. But Amazon's Rufus attribution model looks backwards through the 7-day window and says, this purchase started with that Tuesday Rufus conversation about cold weather camping. That interaction gets credit for downstream impact, even though no immediate conversion happened. Here's where the numbers get interesting. Amazon reported that customers who engage with Rufus are 60% more likely to complete purchases compared to those who don't. But that's measuring across the full customer journey, not session-based conversion rate. The actual session data from Sensor Tower showed Rufus conversations converting around 40% versus 12% for traditional search during Black Friday. That's a 3.5 times conversion lift, but it's still only capturing people who bought in the same session. The 7-day rolling window captures everything else: the research sessions, the comparison shopping, the let me think about it moments that traditional metrics miss entirely. Amazon's internal projection is that this methodology accounts for roughly 70% of Rufus-influenced revenue, meaning if you only looked at same session conversions, you'd be missing the majority of the actual impact. Most sellers are measuring the wrong thing because they're still thinking in terms of click-through conversion funnels. You know, someone searches, clicks your ad, lands on your PDP, converts, or bounces. You know, that model made sense when Amazon was primarily a search and buy platform, but AI-driven discovery fundamentally changes the purchase timeline. The value isn't in the immediate transaction, it's in becoming part of the customer's research set early in their decision-making process. Think about your own catalog for a second. How many of your sales come from customers who visited your listing multiple times before buying? How many started with a general category search, came back 3 days later with a more specific query, then finally converted after comparing you against two competitors? Traditional Amazon analytics don't surface this journey very well. You see the final touch point, the sponsored product ad or the organic ranking, but you don't see the initial discovery moment that started the consideration process. This is why the $10 billion figure is actually more significant than it sounds. It's not just measuring direct Rufus conversions. It's measuring Amazon's ability to influence the entire shopping journey by injecting AI recommendations at the research phase. Someone asks, what do I need for a home gym? And Rufus mentions resistance bands, adjustable dumbbells, yoga mats, foam rollers. Even if they don't buy any of those products in that session, Amazon's attribution system is tracking whether those categories show up in their purchase history over the next week. The practical implication for sellers is that Rufus visibility at the research phase might be more valuable than ranking position on the final search query. If your product shows up when someone asks exploratory questions about your category, what's the difference between ceramic and stainless steel cookware, or what features matter in a baby monitor? You're entering their consideration set before they've narrowed down to specific purchase criteria. That early positioning is what Amazon's attribution model is designed to capture and reward. Here's what you should actually be testing. Instead of obsessing over whether you rank first for your exact match keyword, start tracking whether you appear in Rufus responses for category level questions. Create a test account, ask the kinds of research questions your customers would ask before they know exactly what they want to buy, and see if your products surface in those early stage recommendations. Those research phase impressions are what feed into Amazon's 7-day attribution window. The downstream impact methodology also explains why Amazon is pushing so hard on making Rufus conversational and multi-turn capable. Every additional interaction in a Rufus session, every follow-up question, every comparison request, every tell me more about this feature extends the engagement and increases the likelihood that something in that conversation influences a future purchase. Amazon isn't trying to close the sale in the chat interface. They're trying to become the customer's research partner so that when purchase intent crystallizes days later, it's an Amazon influenced decision. And bottom line, the $10 billion number isn't about Rufus replacing traditional search. It's about Amazon tracking and monetizing an entirely different part of the customer journey, the early research and discovery phase that happens before someone knows exactly what they want. If you're only optimizing for conversion at the bottom of the funnel, you're missing where Amazon is actually measuring and attributing value. The platform changed how it tracks revenue because customer behavior changed. Your measurement strategy probably needs to change too. And this episode is brought to you by Atomic, growth-oriented Amazon services for sellers who've outgrown generic agencies.